nutrition. Just as important, most likely, I would say, as fitness. And I really want to get in as we get into the meat of this podcast. And I hate to say meat because I know you're a vegan.
It's all right.
Um,
Coconut meat, baby. Meat's not just from animals.
I want to get into it, man, because my cousin's a vegan, and I did no meat for a week, and I found myself eating a lot of carbs,
Yeah.
um, ice creams and chips, and but I know there's a lot of plant-based stuff. Yes, sir. Oh, by the way,
There
author.
it
I
is.
apologize for not mentioning that in the intro.
All good.
Author, published author. Yes, sir. Food Fight. Buy it on
Yep.
Amazon.
No, don't buy on Amazon. People are reselling it there for ridiculous prices. I think you can still get some copies at Pro Wrestling Tees. You can always drop me a DM on my Instagram too, Austin Healy Aries, and I can ship one out to you, through that method too, as long as you don't live in Ghana or something.
Okay, I'm gonna buy one of those books because I want to learn about the veganness. Okay, CM
Yeah.
Punk, Daniel Bryan, Austin
CM
Aries.
Punk's not
These guys.
vegan. I don't
He
think
used to
Brian
be
even
though,
knows it.
right?
No, he's not.
Okay.
Well, so here's how I always start this. So veganism's not a diet. Veganism is a philosophy of life. It's some would say it's a religion. So veganism is the philosophy of that I do my best to not cause suffering, harm, or the slaughter of other creatures on this planet that think and feel and have emotion. Now, where does that come up the most? Obviously, in what we eat, because we've been told that we're supposed to be eating animals, which in my 25 years of doing my own research and it's become a passion of mine. I disagree with that. I don't believe that. I believe we're adaptable, but I don't think that our actual species specific diet was ever tailored around eating animals. And I could give you a long list of reasons why I believe that. Um, so understand the difference between a plant-based diet and living a vegan lifestyle. Because living a vegan lifestyle goes on to that I don't buy leather shoes, I don't buy leather couches, I don't buy leather wallets or belts. Right? I'm very mindful of the things that I purchase. I'm doing my best to not contribute to suffering on this planet. Right? And so that's what veganism is. Now, if we're just talking about diet, then that's a whole nother conversation. Um, but yeah, I always like to get ahead of that because I think there's sometimes some confusion about that. And to me, there's a very big difference because I was plant-based for 10 years while I was still eating dairy and cheese for protein and these things. And then after 10 years, which is now going on 14 years ago, I completely went to a completely vegan lifestyle. And so it's a process, it was a process for me, and it's maybe not something that, you know, everyone always says. It's always, yeah, I could never do that. And it's like, well, every vegan said that at first too, and then they realized they actually could, and it wasn't as difficult as they thought once they deprogrammed everything that was programmed into you, and then you reprogrammed with the new sets of rules and information.
What's a typical eating day look like for you? What are you eating during the day? Are you fasting? Are you what does it look like?
It's always been evolving because you always say it's like there's no finish line you get to and go, finally I figured it all out. Now I know all the answers, and I hit the finish line of perfection, and now it's always evolving. I'm always learning. I think one of the most important qualities we can have is to really question the things that we believe the most. If you're not always questioning your self-held beliefs and going, why do I believe that? Do I still believe that? Then we just kind of end up going through life without ever really evolving.
Mm.
So I really believe the more that I've gotten into this, if you ask me what I ate, 15, 20 years ago, I was eating a lot of the fake meat products, which is made a lot of times made of wheat gluten or soy, or but it's overly processed. It's high in protein, but when you really start breaking it down, maybe isn't necessarily a healthier choice. Obviously healthier for the animals, they appreciate it, but for us, maybe not necessarily, because it's still super high in sodium, super highly processed. GMO, GMO corn or soy or wheat, whatever it might be. Um, the more and more I keep digging into this, man, I'm telling you, I really believe we're supposed to be frugivores. Our diet should consist almost exclusively of fruits, some nuts, some seeds. I don't believe cooking food was ever really what we were supposed to do. I think fire was for light and for warmth, but it wasn't for cooking the nutrients out of our food and eating it. And again, there's no other carnivore on the planet that has to cook the meat before it eats it. If you were a true carnivore, like I'm a carnivore, well, when's the last time you went to the zoo? When when you walked in, did you start salivating at all the food around you? No. A carnivore
What
would.
about like what about like overpopulation of the planet? If like animals aren't, if everyone just did fruits and veggies like you're suggesting, would the planet be overpopulated with animals?
Do you realize no, that's absurd? So let me ask you this question. You do realize like we're not out there catching the animals in nature like every other species on this planet. That's the homeostasis, right? If the deer population's too much, then the foxes take care of that, the wolves take care of it, and we are artificially breeding trillions of animals every year just to slaughter and eat them. I'm going to say that again. So we mechanically rape is another way we could put this, animals to breed them. We fatten them up as quickly as possible and then slaughter them to eat. We're not out there in nature eating the animals that are there, because if we did that, there would be no animals left on the planet. We would have ate them all already with the way that we eat.
Right.
So I always say this. We can argue about the health benefits. We can argue about if it's good or bad for the planet. But I like to go to what I call like the absolute truths of nature, right? Or if you believe in a creator, and this isn't to get religious, because to me, God is something completely different than religion. Religion's like 3 steps down from God. That's where religion starts mucking things up with all these
I
rules and
agree.
parameters. God, to me, the creator it's a vibration that once you experience, you can't deny it, and it's simply the purest form of love you will ever experience in your life. That to me is the source energy of God that we all come from. So if you believe in a creator, do you think that his grand design for human beings to be able to eat and sustain life was that we would mechanically, artificially impregnate and breed animals to then fatten them up and slaughter them as babies and eat them? You think, now that's a grand design? Or let me throw this one out to you. Do you think that the idea that we eat fruit, which nothing has to die, the plant doesn't die, the fruit drops and offers itself to us, we eat the flesh of the fruit, we spit out the seed, and more fruit grows? That would seem like a more intelligent design on how humans would thrive than the system that we've come up with, right? So if you really look, we don't look like lions and tigers. We look like gorillas. Gorillas are frugivores. They don't eat meat. Occasionally they'll eat their young. That's a whole other topic. But they eat fruit. They eat some seeds, some stems. They might eat some bugs. Then I always throw this one out there, because this is a learned behavior, right? So we talk a lot about racism and discrimination as humans. But like the first form of discrimination that we're taught is speciesism, right? We're taught if it's a PIG, we have no regard for it. But if it's a DOG, we love it, and we call it part of the family. If it's a CAT, we pet it and love it. If it's a COW, we slaughter it and eat it.
Mm.
These aren't rules of innate rules that we follow. These are things that are taught to us, because if I put a little Mitch or a little Danny in a crib with a puppy and a kitten and a chicklet and a piglet, you're not going to innately go to love the puppy and try to strangle the piglet to make bacon out of it. You're going to love them all. You're going to go to hug them all. And
Sorry,
then I
Amon.
also heard, what's
So,
that?
I'm sorry. Amon heard you talking about dogs, and he
Yeah,
wanted to get some camera
yeah.
time.
What's going on,
This is
buddy?
my this is my talking dog, Amont. Hello,
Right.
Austin Aries. I am Amont. It's nice to meet you. You're incredible.
Yes. Appreciate that. But think about this, man. And like, so just picture if you drop us off in the middle of an abundant field, right? In nature, but we're naked. We have we have no tools, no fire, no tools, just our God-given body.
Yes.
What sounds the most appetizing and what sounds the most obtainable when it comes to eating food? Are you going to be
Pizza.
able to catch a rabbit with your bare hands? And then if you do catch the rabbit, are you going to sink your canines into its jugular to kill it and then eat it as is?
No.
Does it even sound good?
No.
Right? Would you grab a bunch of grass and chew through the grass? Doesn't
Nope.
sound good either. What about would you pluck the fruit from the tree and eat that?
Yeah.
Does that act sounds good? Sounds like it's something that we're actually capable of doing, right? Like we weren't given any, there's nothing about our makeup that suggests that we're these heavy meat eaters that would catch these animals in nature and eat them like a true carnivore would. And then if you go to the pH balance of our saliva and our stomach acid, the length of our intestine, the fact that our jaws move this way because true carnivores' jaws go like this. They don't move this way. This is to grind things like nuts and seeds, right? Why we see in color. We see in color to be able to see those berries. Why do you think they color all of our foods with artificial colors? Because they know what
Mhm.
appeals to us. Because in nature, right, we don't see movement, we see color, which a lot like dogs don't see color. They're carnivores, right? So if you just break all these things down, man, it's like I think the greatest deception that's been played on humans is this idea that we're supposed to eat animals.
Mm.
It's what keeps us. It's what keeps us, in this animalistic behavior that allows us to justify killing anything that we don't think is our equal.
I want to get to Danny here in a second. He's been quiet for a long time, and he's on the carnivore diet. I'm gonna call him out on it.
That's fine,
He's not
man.
ashamed. But before I get to Danny, because I want Danny to chime in here. What about fish?
Fish are animals. They have feelings. Yeah.
Because I've had some friends that that's all they're eating is fish and vegetables, and they are just getting in great shape.
Well, yeah, because listen, and the same with the carnivore diet. What that is, it's an elimination diet. When you start eliminating things that are bad for you, it doesn't mean the stuff you're eating is necessarily great for you. It's just that you're no longer eating the processed, crackers and chips and seed oil and all these things, right? So this is what happens. People eliminate all this garbage they've been eating because I'm just eating steak and eggs now, and look, I'm getting ripped. It's like, well, yeah, because you cut out all this junk,
Right.
right? And sure, it'll work in the short term, but long term, you're
Right.
going to have your own problems, right? And so yeah, if you eliminate ho hos and Snickers bars and potato chips, and now you just eat fish and vegetables, you will see good results. I can also go on the cocaine diet and I can lose 40 pounds and go, yeah, I'm on the cocaine diet. It works for me. Look at that. I used to be fat. Now look at that. I'm ripped. And this is what I see a lot of times when people, use these comparisons. It's like, okay, you know, and then, the two other points that, and then we'll get Danny's response because I'm curious, and I'm sorry if I'm ruining this whole thing for you. Um,
Fine.
you're like, nah, it ain't gonna ruin me.
Nope,
Two
not at
things:
all.
milk's for babies, right?
Oh,
We can all agree on that. Every species produces milk for its babies.
I like cereal.
Okay. Well, cereal's garbage food. I mean, that's just complete garbage food full of fake colors, fake sugars, BHT. I mean, I can go the list on and on. But think about this, man.
Magic Spoon, though.
What's that?
Magic Spoon, the healthy protein cereal.
There's no such thing, bro. It's garbage. It's garbage. It's garbage.
Processed.
Yeah. Processed garbage.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I agree on that.
Yeah.
We can come to terms on that. Yeah.
Yeah. But think about this. So milk, every species produces milk for its offspring. It's for babies. Milk is for babies. Animals are really in tune with what they should be eating. You know, animals don't wake up in the morning and think about what they should eat. I wonder if this is going to make me fat, or maybe, right? Like they just innately know what their diet is. And the only animals who get the same ailments as humans are dogs and cats because we made food for them that they shouldn't be eating. We feed it to them because that's what Big money. Listen, we make money on sick, stupid, sad people. Okay, so everything that they're promoting to you is to make you sick, stupid, and sad because that's where the money is, right? And they do that with the animals too, right? We start feeding them food that they're not supposed to be eating. Now they're getting sick, right? Now they got diabetes. I got these things. But you don't think there's one other animal on the planet that would drink milk when it's not a baby if milk was this good formula for us to be eating? And then like we're not even drinking our own milk. We were drinking the growth hormone of baby calves to become large cows. We're drinking that as adult humans, this growth hormone, and then we're wondering why we have all these health problems. And it would be like if you had to get a blood transfusion and you thought, well, maybe I'll get cow's blood. That might be good for me. It doesn't. There's no logic there. And then the last point I like to make, and then I will be quiet, is I believe everything is energy. Okay, everything vibrates a frequency. We've got high frequency emotions like love and gratitude and joy. And then we have low frequency emotions, anger, hate, stress, fear. Can we agree on that?
Sadness too, yeah.
Sadness. So now let's go back to the old adage, you are what you eat. Now think of the emotional vibration and the frequency of those animals that are being factory farmed. What do you think they feel? Sadness, anger, stress, anxiety, fear. Now think of what's ailing our society as a whole. The mental health epidemic of what? Sadness, stress, anxiety, fear, right? How do you eat these low frequency, low vibrational emotions? Call that nourishment and not think it has an impact on your own mental. You are what you eat. So fruit to me is the literal highest vibrational food we can eat. It's the direct transfer of the sun's energy. Nothing suffered, nothing died. The fruit gives itself to us. We eat it, we spit the seed out, more fruit grows. Absolutely no suffering takes place. So you can strip everything else about health and the environment and all these things away. But that to me, the core is when I really thought and sat with that. There's nothing and nobody that can convince me that any differently than that. You are what you eat, and I choose to eat the light and not the dark.
What you got, Danny?
Um,
Follow that.
Yeah, I don't think I could ever follow Austin Aries in anything. So I've never thought about it and put it that way. I just had lots of health issues because I mean, being in the Marine Corps, like
Garbage.
you're just busy all the
Bro.
time. Yeah, so
Yeah.
you're constantly on the move, and it's not a greatest diet. You know, a lot of it is like nicotine and eating what you can quickly and energy drinks to keep going. And
Garbage.
I had so many bad like habits from that by the time like I got in a car accident before like that I had to get out of the Marine Corps with. So like I went from living that lifestyle to then being like having basically half of my body not work like it should. And then it was like it just got worse and worse and worse. And you know, like I was looking for something over years and years, and then I finally, you know, everybody has been talking about the carnivore diet, so I just tried it out, and I've had great results. But like you said, you know, once you clean up your diet, it'll start coming off. And I stopped eating processed food, and I started eating more natural of what I took like put in my own hands to do, you know, and
Sure.
it worked out. I've never had the extra level of thinking about emotions and feelings and stuff like that, because you know, like a lot of us growing up as men, you don't think about emotions and feelings and stuff like that. You push them down and you keep moving forward. So it's hard to consider, especially like being in the Marine Corps. They teach you not to care about that type of stuff, because sometimes you have to do things that if you thought about thoughts and emotions and feelings and stuff like that, you wouldn't be able to do it. So I never looked past it, you know? So like, I've never thought about like, if you know, like if a cow is sad, you know, that thought never occurred to me because I think about,
they don't want you to think about it.
Yeah. You think about people
They don't want
and
you
their
to think
feelings,
about it.
but you know,
You know, and Go ahead. Sorry, I didn't mean to
Yeah,
interrupt.
no, no,
Please
you're
finish.
good. You're good. You just don't think about it because, like you said, you're looked down on other species because they're not at the same level as human beings. So I've never really considered it.
Yeah. But I mean, to me, it's like it's the foundation of why we have things like the Marines, why we have things like the military. Like when you think about this stuff, man, it blows my mind. Like we're still sitting here. We were given paradise and we're out here blowing each other up. Like, what do you like? We're the only species, we're so dumb. We're the only animal on the planet that's figured out how to die of obesity and starvation at this very same time. There's no other animal on the planet that, like, they must look at us like these are the dumbest MFers on the planet. They're dying of starvation over here, and over here they're dying of obesity because they haven't figured out how to share and get along.
Yeah.
Right?
Come on.
So it's funny, is like we're in this state now where there's surveillance everywhere. You're on camera 30, 40, 50 times a day every time you step out of your house. You know the one place you're not allowed to film in this country?
Government
Slaughterhouses.
offices.
Slaughterhouses.
Oh wow. Okay.
There's legislation against recording and filming within slaughterhouses. All the film that you see of what's happening in there is some that went undercover to show you. Why is that? Because of what you just said. They don't want you to think about it. They don't want you to put that emotional connection together because that's what, if guys like you start thinking like that, guess what? The Marines go away because people say, no, we're not killing no more. Bullshit. We can do better. We're still, it's like we're such an adolescent species right now. We're like toddlers, man. We haven't figured it out. And be like, oh, you think you're better than everybody? No, I don't think I'm better than anybody. But I do think that the way that I see things and feel about things is the next evolution of human beings. If we're the top of the food chain, or if we have dominion over something, won't we want to lead with compassion? Won't we want, if we were the lower species, won't we want someone to have compassion for us? Right?
Oh yeah.
And so, but that's what allows us to justify this disconnect from everyone around us that's not just like us. And we justify these things and we stick our head in the sand and they don't tell you. That's why we have fancy names for things. We don't call it pig, we call it pork. Right? We don't call it cow, we call it hamburger. Right? And we don't want to see it until it's been cleaned up and hidden under a bunch of vegetables, lettuce and tomato and pickle, and we put sauces and rubs and spices on it. Right? I say, like, I'm not equipped for this. I never liked hunting. I didn't like fishing, but I do have a certain level of respect for the people who actually go out there and they have the direct connection, because I think you're a coward if you're paying somebody else to do something that you couldn't do yourself. And I realized I couldn't slit the throat of that pig, or I couldn't snap the neck of that chicken. So I would be like a coward to not be able to do that, but then pay someone else to do it for me because I don't want to see it. Bullshit.
Deep. That's deep, man.
Mm-hmm.
I'll tell you what. So I agree with pretty much everything you're saying, except for fish. I don't. Do fish have feelings? I've never seen a really happy
Fish have
fish or a
feelings,
really
bro. They
sad fish.
communicate. They have feelings. They think. They communicate. Yeah, bro. Everything does. And we
Everything
do
does,
this.
yeah.
We try to make these things to make ourselves feel better. I did it with myself with milk. Oh, well, the cow doesn't die. Right? I tried telling myself this story like, well, the cow doesn't die. It's not as bad. I'm a vegetarian, but because the milk, the cow doesn't die. And then you start looking into it. It's actually worse. They shackle the cow, they mechanically rape her. Then when her baby's born, they steal her baby, and then they rape her again, so she's impregnated because she can only produce milk while she's pregnant, right? Or shortly thereafter, there's a period of time she'll stop producing if she's not pregnant. So she spends her whole life being mechanically impregnated, having her baby, watch it get stolen from her, just to get impregnated again. And then once she can't produce it, once she can't produce any more milk, then they kill her. Like, could you imagine if we drank human breast milk? Like, what if cheese was made of human woman breast milk? A lot of people go, that's kind of gross. Why is that gross? But making it out of a cow isn't gross. And then what if we treated women like that? What if we just had some women, in other countries that we don't really talk about, the poor countries that we never, how we get our iPhones and how we get $300 large screen TVs. We don't talk about the slavery in those countries, right? But what if in those countries too, to make sure we had enough milk for everybody for your cereal, what if these women were being shackled and mechanically raped and then milked and then having their babies stolen and had it done all over again? How would we look ourselves in the mirror and be okay? So when you realize, and this is, I talk about this in the book, when I was 8 years old, I was on my grandparents' farm. I grew up in Wisconsin. I didn't grow up around vegans. I grew up around farmland, right? The cheese capital.
Yep.
And I remember I was feeding grass to one of the cows in my grandparents' farm. And we had this moment where it was staring right into my eyes. And I was staring right back into its eyes as I was feeding it grass. And it dawned on me. And I thought to myself, I wonder what it's thinking right now. And that's the first time that I actually acknowledged that this cow thinks and it has thought and it feels and it has emotion and it communicates. Maybe not with me because I don't speak cow, but it communicates amongst each other. And I made that connection and I humanized it in a way. And then it was, Danny, it's time to eat. And what was for dinner? Burgers
Wow.
and
Yes.
brats and cow. And I made the connection and I felt, and it didn't sit right. But at that age, if you eat what's on your plate, if you want dessert, you don't question it. But that seed was planted there, and yeah, it didn't sprout for another 10 years. But that was the moment where you start actually like realizing, like, dude, like, if you believe in a creator, do you think that he really put these animals for us to make commodities, to treat them like just nothing more than a commodity to use and abuse for our pleasure? Because this is the reality of it, man. It's not a necessity. I am living proof. We
Yes.
don't need it as a necessity. So now when it's not a necessity and it's a choice, then it's framed completely differently because you're doing something because you choose to, not because you have to. And now that's a whole nother question that you have to ask yourself and answer.
Everything and everyone I believe was created for a purpose. I am inspired, dude. I'm gonna tell you right now, because here's the thing. All right, I'll be honest with you. I had a chorizo breakfast burrito for breakfast. I had my protein cereal. That's all I've had all day.
Mhm.
Maybe a kiss from my fiance. But I went a week, okay? I went a week with no meat. I'm gonna go a month. Okay. I'm gonna need your book. I'm gonna need
Yeah.
to do a lot of research. I don't know what Danny's gonna do, but I'm an animal lover, and I have purposely avoided watching any slaughter videos or how the burger is made and all that, how the sausage is made, brother. But I'm making a public statement here, a declaration. I'm going to go a month starting today without eating meat. So I'm gonna do that. Thank you for the inspiration on
Yeah.
that, and I'm gonna see how I feel because I'm already down like 20 pounds, and my body fat percentage is dropping quite a bit. So I'm
Right.
interested to see what happens. I am concerned. I don't want to lose muscle mass, right? That's a thing I think us guys think about. We don't
Sure.
want to
Sure.
lose our muscles.
Yep.
Protein. Where do you get your protein at? This is all
Yep.
stuff you can research. You can buy the Food Fight book from Daniel Healy on Instagram and X. Austin Aries, of course, look him up. I'm sure that he'll sell you a book. I'm gonna buy one. I'm gonna buy one. Danny,
So
do you
real
have?
quick,
Yeah.
real quick on the protein tip, real quick, because I want to break something down. So protein is more than one amino acid put together creates like a block is now protein, right? So you put these amino acids together creates a protein. Now, when you eat a protein, your body deconstructs that protein back down to amino acids. Now you have this like amino acid soup, I say, or like, and then when your body needs protein to repair muscle, it then takes the amino acids it needs and it reconstitutes it for that purpose. Okay. So while we think of things like fruit don't have protein, they have tons of amino acids. Now, maybe they haven't been blocked together in that form to create a quote unquote protein, but they have tons of amino acids.
Lots of sugar
So
though.
fructose,
Mm,
it's what our
yeah.
body runs off of.
Yeah.
That's what we're designed
It's
to actually be fueled by. It's what our brain, this is what the keto diet, right, is the
yeah.
worst, is because your brain runs its first source of fuel is fructose. That's what it wants. So when you starve the body of fruit sugar, you're starving your brain, right? And so I could point you to guys that are longtime frugivores, fruit only eaters that are jacked and that are ripped, that don't eat protein, right? Proteins, but the whole protein myth has been perpetuated by who? The people who sell you protein. Think about whey. What is whey protein? Well, every time they make 2% milk, what happens to that other 98%? It's a waste product. Unless they market it and they sell it to you as protein.
Yeah. So
Right?
what do you eat for dinner? What do you eat for dinner? Just curious, because we are going to move on. I really encourage people. I want to again encourage people to buy the Food Fight book, to look into this, because I'm telling you right now, I'm talking to you about this. I'm going to do this for a month, and who knows what will happen after that. But what do you typically eat for dinner, say? Because I'm trying to avoid carbs
Yeah.
at night, right?
Well, and that's fine. I mean, but at the end of the day, if you're trying to build muscle, it's math, right? Calories in, calories out. And then the other part, nutrients in, nutrients out. We're so focused on the macros, we don't think about the micros. How much nutrients are you getting? Most of us in society are eating calorically dense, nutrient deficient food. Lots of calories, very little nutrients. Why am I still hungry? Because your body didn't get the nutrients it wants. You keep giving it filler, you're not giving it the nutrients. It's still hungry for the nutrients. You eat more food, more of the same food that didn't have the nutrients, and now you're still hungry, right? So you overeat. So we start thinking about nutrient dense food, right? Fruit, super nutrient dense food, right? Even if it's high in sugar. So what do I eat? It depends. Let me give you a typical breakfast. A lot of times, I'll eat like maybe a pint or 2 pints of blueberries and an avocado or two.
Yeah.
That might be breakfast. Or I might eat half of a watermelon, blend it up, and I might just sip that over an hour or two with maybe some hemp seeds sprinkled in that for a little bit of fat and a little bit of protein. For dinner, it depends. If I'm trying to be like really good, on my raw kick, it might be 5 cucumbers, a mashed up avocado.
Wow.
I'll tell you what though, what did I eat the other night after my match, after I've been dieting hard? I made pizzas. I made pizza, right?
Yeah.
I made with organic wheat flour. I made my own crusts, right? So again, it's about, if I'm going to eat these things, I'm going to get the highest level of it. I don't want, if I'm going to eat wheat, right, or if I'm going to eat bread, I want organic sourdough bread. I don't want low grade GMO glyphosate wheat. So again, I'm going to make pizza. I'm going to make pizza. I'm going to make it. There's levels to this. And this is what I talk about. There's levels to this. When you start understand the levels, I want to be at the highest level. If I'm going to enjoy pizza, so I'm going to make the crust myself here with an organic, wheat, that's from Italy. So it's probably less sprayed with the shit we use here. Then my sauce, again, making sure that there's not a lot of added sugars to the sauce, right? Or make your own sauce. Now they make vegan cheeses. A lot of the vegan cheese that I buy is basically made of like coconut oil and like maybe tapioca starch, right? So it's not overly offensive, And so yeah, so I'll use the vegan cheese and then put your vegetables on it, So I like, if I want a hearty meal, a cooked meal, red lentil pasta, chickpea pasta. I love Indian food. So that's a lot of like
Yeah.
lentils, dal, rice. I loved when I was over in India for a few months, right? Um, you know, so there's a lot. If you're gonna go cooked food, I never feel like I'm missing out. Everyone thinks like I eat lettuce and carrots. It's like I'm not a rabbit, like I enjoy food, but when you start realizing like there's nothing that I used to eat that I can't make now. I can make mac and cheese. I make the cheese sauce out of soaked cashews and nutritional yeast with a little bit of lemon juice, right? So, there's nothing that I used to enjoy I can't enjoy now. The funny thing is, when I really go in heavy into my raw food diet and mostly fruit diet, I don't crave those carbohydrates anymore. I don't
Yes.
crave the bread. I don't crave, right? And I always feel light. I can eat so much fruit. Cucumbers is a fruit. Peppers are fruits. Anything with a seed or a pit is a fruit, right? So now we're talking about squash as a fruit, right? So these things that we think as vegetables are actually fruits. So at night, if I want to go, hey, I'm going to mash up a couple of avocados, grab a couple of different colored bell peppers, a couple of cucumbers, and so I can have a big bowl of that, Um,
Mhm.
so, but then yeah, if I'm right now, like, because I'm really concerned about keeping my, keeping my size on, I got to hit my calorie numbers. So
Right.
yeah, my smoothie in the morning might be 8 bananas and a
Wow.
little bit of peanut butter and a scoop of maybe a scoop of hemp. For my protein powder, I just get whole like whole hemp seeds.
Where do you
Right.
shop at? Do you go to farmers markets or what are you doing?
Um, I'm a Bro, I'm all about the life hacks. So like, there's a spot around here that's called Saks Discount Groceries. It's a place that has all these products that are close to the Best Buy date or just after the Best Buy date or overstocked or things that are. And I'll go there and I'll spend $200 and I'll get like $1,200 worth of groceries
Wow.
because I'm gonna get the high end stuff and I'm gonna pay pennies on the dollars. Why? I walk into a normal grocery store and I'm seeing what the prices people are paying for the absolute dog shit food, like the
Yep.
lowest grade food. It's like Starbucks. You're paying a
Yeah.
premium price for like the lowest grade coffee. Coffee is one of the most heavily sprayed crops. So if you're not buying organic coffee, you are drinking glyphosate water. That's it. You're drinking acidic glyphosate water. So what do? I order instant organic coffee and I travel with it everywhere. So I always have organic coffee at my disposal. When I'm traveling through airports, it's a powder. I can travel right through it and I can make my own coffee. Right. So like I've spent like the last 2 decades of really, I think, navigating consumerism and understanding the choices I have. Because at the end of the day, like I always say, like, I'm not here to tell anybody how to live your life, but I believe in informed decisions, right? And we can't make informed decisions if they don't give us the information. So, my business outside of wrestling that I'm launching in the new year is to be able to take all this knowledge and help people navigate this consumerism and understand the levels and take you to whatever level you want to achieve. If that's 100% vegan, raw fruit diet, that's great. If it's 50% plant-based diet, that's great, right? I'm not here to judge you on how vegan you are or not. I'm just here
Yeah.
to help get you wherever you're trying to go and give you the information so you can make informed decisions. So hey, I want to pick my poisons, right? Yeah, I might have a glass of wine or a scotch here and there. I'm fully aware of what that does to me. So I eliminate these poisons over here that I didn't know I was consuming, the fake colors and sugars and the preservatives and all these things, so that I can
Yeah.
poison myself with the fun stuff.
So speaking of that, I'm gonna be 7 years sober this month, and I remember the last night I drank. Right, like
Yeah,
it was after a comedy show. We were drinking vodka in the back seat.
yeah.
Totally legal. Um, but I was gonna ask you, do you remember? Because you've been haven't eaten meat in a long time. Do you remember the last time that you ate meat, like the meal you had, and you were like, "All right, I'm done." Like,
Um, So I remember the meal. I remember the moment that I said, I'm done with this. And I just had started training. So, I need meat for protein for muscles. So and I didn't have a lot of money. So it was like buying the cheapest generic bag of frozen chicken breast you could get.
right?
And
Oh
so I
yeah.
remember that day as I was cooking that up, and I was just like, excuse my language, but remember I said to myself, this is fucking disgusting. And that was it. And the next day, I just cut the meat out. Now, do I remember the last time I ate meat? Yes, I do. It was at an Asian restaurant, and I got the mock duck. And I ate the mock duck, and I was like, I don't know. Kind of
Yeah.
tastes. And then I went and asked them. They said, "Oh no, that was the actual chicken." Here's the funny thing: when you abstain from these things, your taste buds change. If dairy's in something, I
You
know
can taste it.
immediately that it's got milk in it. I taste it.
Yeah.
It tastes grassy and nasty. I always say it's like someone who used to drink whole milk that goes down to skim milk, and then you got to go back to try to drink like whole milk again, and it tastes gross. It's the same
Mm.
thing. And so that's always encouraged. Like even with you, you're going to go a month. Like
Yes.
give your body time to adjust. Understand your taste buds will adapt. Understand every 7 years we're a brand new person. Every cell in our body regenerates. So the things you start doing today in 7 years, if you stick with it, you just said 7 years sober. Now every cell in your body now is a sober cell, right? It takes 7 years for that. So you can't go from eating one way, processed burgers and lunch meat and these things, and then go, oh, I'm going to eat tofu and quinoa now. That's the only thing I think that these fake meat products, the Impossible, the Beyond Burgers, they're great bridges. It helps you in this transition of okay, I'm still craving the burger, I'm still craving the hot dog, whatever it is. And it gives you an option to satisfy that craving as you're transitioning. But as I've gone on this diet, I crave those things less and less and less and less.
Mm.
And, really, really start to enjoy the real whole foods that, I've been eating.
Awesome, man. Well, I'm
Yeah, bro, I
excited.
could
Like I
talk. I
said,
could talk. We could do 10 hours on this, man. And
I
that's
know,
Yeah.
yeah.
I know,
I
and
find it super
and
interesting.
yes,
Sorry. Is, you know, I've never had like a conversation with, someone who's strictly, like vegan type
Yeah.
stuff, but a lot of things you say is exactly how I feel with like just eating meat. Like out of the process, how it changes the way things taste, or you can tell if something is X, Y, and Z because you don't eat it on a regular basis, or
Yes.
I don't miss out on same thing with like pizzas or whatever because you can find something that works for you, and it's just so interesting to see how different you think things are, but how the same a lot of the same things are, and it's just
Sure.
it's really cool
Well, and
to
the
hear
funny thing
that
is,
type of
Danny, is
stuff,
like if you had adopted a vegan, like a raw vegan diet instead of a carnivore diet, I
Yeah.
guarantee you would have seen just as good of results.
Yeah.
Right? Because it's not the meat. It's not the meat eating the meat. That's the thing that's getting you the results. It's the eliminating all the garbage that was creating the problem.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right?
Hmm.
So again, there's multiple ways to get there. We can have a difference of opinion if that's actually truly healthy. But in the short term, you're seeing the
Sure.
results. But a large part is because probably before that, you never paid any attention to what you ate.
Yeah,
Right? And for
absolutely.
most of us who don't, like when I started actually tracking my calories and understanding like what these numbers meant, when I looked at, or again, I cannot buy something without reading the ingredients label. And there's like a list of things. If it's on the
Mhm.
ingredients label, it does not go in my cart. I won't pay for it.
Yeah.
You know, I screw myself all the time. I remember like at the hotel and they had like Fruity Pebbles, which I loved as a kid. And it's like, oh man, like they got almond milk here. I could have a bowl of Fruity Pebbles, but I can't not do this. Grab it, and I look at the back, and I start reading. And go, I can't
Mhm.
do it. I like it's like once the toothpaste is out of the tube, man, you can't put it back in. And so for me, once I've seen what I've seen, I can't unsee it and put my head back in the sand. I'm too far past that point. Even if I wanted to, I know better, and I know too much now to go back into the ignorance.
yeah, I can't thank you enough, man, for your time. You've been so kind. I've been speaking with you for a few weeks now, and I'm just again, we're just honored to have you on the show. I wanted to do one more segment here. It's a real quick
Yeah.
segment. Um, it's called. All right, are you ready? This is the debut now. This
All
is the
right.
debut. I haven't done this yet. So this is called Word Up. So here on Word Up, Austin Aries is the guest here. Austin Aries, you're the man, by the way. The greatest man that ever lived is what they say in pro wrestling, or wrestling as I like to call it. But here on Word Up, I'm going to throw a name at you. And I just want to get like a quick response. You take as long as you want, but I mean, I got a stack of names here for you.
All right.
You say whatever you want, sir. Are you okay with that?
We're gonna find out.
Word up. All right, here we go. Here we go. First name, right? We're coming out hot. Donald Trump.
Polarizing.
Vince McMahon.
Uh, God damn it.
CM Punk.
uh, the epitome of self belief.
His wife, AJ Lee.
Don't really know her too well. Yeah, I don't really have much to add. Yeah.
John Cena.
Um, you know, uh, Professional player of the game.
Brock Lesnar.
Freak of nature.
Triple H.
He is the game, right? He cracked the code. The, You have to say that that guy is the most successful professional wrestler, bar none. He, I mean, if you see where he started to the position he's in now, has anyone had more success than him?
In wrestling, I can't think of anybody. He runs the whole show now. Like,
So, from that standpoint, absolute genius.
speaking of somebody that runs the show, Tony Khan.
Uh, big wrestling fan.
Christy Hemme.
Ah. um, I don't really have much to say about that. Mother of like 15 or something, isn't she? She's had a lot of kids. Yeah.
She's been not really in the news for years and years and years. Also, a man that hasn't really been in the news. I know he's doing something in Canada with Maple Leaf Pro, I believe. Scott D'Amore.
Scott D'Amore. Good wrestling mind for sure.
One of my favorites, Brian Danielson.
Best that I've ever been in the ring with.
Yeah. Christopher Daniels.
Man, one of the OGs. Really one of the OGs. A guy who really helped me at different points in my career as I was coming up. And kind of like one of the OGs of the independent wrestling scene, you know?
Yeah, I know both of those guys did a lot of work in Northern California at All Pro Wrestling.
Mm.
And I only got the opportunity to wrestle in that APW garage once. Off topic, did you ever wrestle in the APW?
I don't believe so, no.
Because the next name I had on my list, you may or may not know, but everyone around here knows it, is Roland Alexander.
Heard the name and maybe we've crossed paths, but don't know him well enough to comment beyond that. Yeah.
Yeah, he was in Beyond the Mat. He passed away sadly in 2013. He ran All Pro Wrestling. All Pro Wrestling is not really running anymore. They were around a long time. The phenomenal AJ Styles.
I mean, that's phenomenal, right? And also just what he's been able to do for his style for as long as he's been able to do it, it's pretty amazing.
The Heartbreak Kid, Shawn Michaels.
Uh, he one of the best backhanded compliments that I ever got came from Dave Meltzer, who said, "If only Austin Aries was 6 feet tall, we would be talking about him like he's the next Shawn Michaels." Nicest thing Dave's
Impromptu.
ever said about me.
Impromptu, Dave Meltzer.
I mean, probably the greatest worker in the history of the business. Think of all the money that guy's made and never even once put any boots on. Like, yeah. You can tell I'm really trying to be PC on these answers, man. Like,
I've got 5 left.
okay.
All right. Just 5. That's it.
Yeah.
Randy Orton.
Oh, man. Like, he's like a pro wrestler's pro wrestler, you know?
The Undertaker.
Guy's a legend, you know? And, the fact that, for those of us who saw him early in his career, like, he earned that, right? He didn't just, by the time he got to WWE, he had already been paying his dues and, was kind of tolling in the, I would say, undercard, other places. And then he got there and what he was able to recreate and do with that character and the longevity. I mean, yeah, he's a 1-on-1.
Yes, sir. We're down to 3, but I'm going to do a bonus one for Danny because it's his favorite wrestler, and he would be so mad at me if I didn't add the bonus. Kenny Omega.
Um, Kenny Omega. Uh, Definitely revolutionized this new era of wrestling. As I call it, the cosplay pro wrestling era, right? Um, you know, there's different flavors of ice cream, and he perfected his flavor.
Absolutely. Okay, the final three, Austin Aries. These are my three favorite wrestlers of all time. Stone Cold Steve Austin. What?
Yeah, man. Man, what do you even say about him? I think this is goes to show is um, if you don't have authenticity, doesn't matter how good you are, you might never be successful. But right, because Stunning Steve Austin was a hell of a performer and a hell of a wrestler, but you could tell that there was something that wasn't hitting, and it was authenticity. And the minute he became Stone Cold and he got to actually be who he was, an extension of himself, everything changed, right? And so this is where, if there's one attribute for any young wrestler, aspiring wrestler, it's the more authentic you can be, uh, the better chance you have to connect with the audience.
Yeah. The reason I am even having doing this podcast with you, sir, everyone at school was talking about this guy that talks smack and backs it up. I thought wrestling was kind of dumb, honestly, before I saw The Rock. Um, your thoughts on The Rock?
Probably our future president. Guy's obviously been earmarked for it, and again, another guy that's made his way up the entertainment sector, and has obviously, to be able to do that, you have to be able to play the game.
Yeah. Um, okay. Final. We gotta get like a noise going, a drum roll, something. This is I watched a couple of things of you to prepare for this, including the full match, and featuring this man, and it was an incredible match, as most of your matches were, just being honest. Um, to me, in the ring, character wise, as a person, what he's overcome, he's the greatest of all time in my book. Your Olympic hero and mine, Kurt Angle.
Man, intensity is first thing that pops in my head, and just a natural, right? Because you know what he accomplished as an amateur wrestler doesn't always translate into the world of pro wrestling, and from a personality standpoint, uh, how quickly he picked it up at the level that he did. I mean, the guy's just a natural, right? And for me, there's very few guys that I've stood across the ring from to where I was like, man, I better make sure I bring the intensity. And this was a guy where it's like, okay, yeah, like I need to raise my level. Usually I like to think I'm the guy that's the guy's thinking about that about me. And in that moment, I was like, well, we're gonna find out. I was telling myself, we're gonna find out how good you are. If you're as good as you think you are, we're about to find out right now. But I've always had the utmost respect for Kurt, and just great.
Oh, it's true. It's damn true.
Yeah.
And that has been this segment. That has been the debut of Word Up. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Word up.
And we are going to end this podcast. We're going to end this show again. Thank you so much, Austin Aries, for your time. You are the man. You are inspirational. You are one of the best professional wrestlers there's ever been. And that's just it is what it is, man. That's just speaking from the heart here. And I am the heart blesser, Mitch Valentine. I'm known by a lot of different things. I've got YouTube, and I'm at Got Mitch Online on everything, YouTube, X, Instagram, also at Got Mitch Enterprises. We're doing a lot of things: Chainbreaker Pro Wrestling, sports entertainment. I do events. I blah 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 blah. You guys already know. Danny, you got some plugs, and we're gonna save the best plugs for last because we're gonna let Austin Aries go ahead and tell everybody about him. But Danny, did you have some quick plugs?
Yeah, I mean, just the lot of veteran work we do at VOP Gaming on Twitch.tv, also YouTube and stuff. But I just want to say it's been an honor. I do a lot of veteran. I do this thing called a veteran spotlight where I sit and I interview veterans, and that'll never, like, it's hard to beat those type of things. But like sitting here listening, it's just been like I'm trying not to like fan out because like I've watched you for years and years and years, and listening to your stories is incredible. And I'm very blessed in it. Thank you very much for coming out and sitting down and doing this with us.
Guys are going to make me blush over here. But no, I appreciate all the kind words. Thank you.
And Austin Aries, please let everybody know where they can get your book, where they can book you, and where they can follow you and find out more about being a vegan, being amazing. The floor is
Yeah,
yours.
I'm so not good at these plug things. You know, I said you can probably find copies of my book still at Pro Wrestling Tees. You know, go to the Austin Aries store there. You can follow me. I'm probably most active on my Instagram. That's at Austin Healy Aries. I got one of those little check mark thingies to let you know you got the real deal. And if you go there, you can find all the information on how to reach out to me to book me. Um, I'm on X from time to time, but it seems to be a cesspool, so I don't really post a whole lot on there. That's at Austin Aries. And yeah, keep a lookout. September 27th, Major League Wrestling. I will be on that show. It debuts on their YouTube channel at OrBN Sports. You can see me get back in the ring. What I call my first real match in quite some time against Kushida for the Opera Cup. And that's where I'm mostly plying my trade these days, is in Major League Wrestling. So you can catch all the action there as well.
Awesome, man. Hopefully, we can get you out of here in Northern California soon. And that has been the show, y'all. Thank you again, Austin Aries,
Thank you.
Danny. You're the man. And thank you to every
Appreciate it.
single person that's listening and watching. Please share, do all the deals there. Y'all know the deal. My name's Mitch, and it's all love.